my B-boy stands. XA, what's up? It's VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. We're all about that SA hip-hop business. We're all about that African hip-hop business. We're all about investigating, instigating, dissecting, exposing, and imposing all of the talent we feel is hardworking and really worth the time and the while, all according to this quality that is epitomized in what we call the 5 principles. But if you don't know what those are, you should check more of our podcast. I have no idea where you've been if you don't know what I'm talking about. But this particular segment speaks to the music. It speaks to rappers, it speaks to MCs, it speaks to artists really operating within the context of SA hip hop and doing things that are expressing where they are right now. And for me, my role as the critic is to navigate and see whether that really hits the target. Every artist has a target. Every musician works according to a goal, a vision they feel they want to achieve from the work that speaks to where they are personally. And I stand in the middle, like some kind of filter, kind of moving and navigating and kind of really seeing if it's working. So in the case of this particular artist, Indigo Stella, part of this beautiful wave of trap that is arising from South Africa's streets and hitting us hard from all corners, is somebody who comes through high-pitched, high-paced, energetic, confident, sultry, sweet, everything woman, everything strength, everything brutal, yet everything delicate. This amazing contradiction. But isn't life an amazing contradiction? Aren't human beings an amazing contradiction? Isn't the point of music to package amazing contradictions and filter them in the form of beautiful sounds that can stay and remain with us after the actual moment has been said and done? Latest project that she gives us, something called From the Jungle to the Stars. Now this is a curious title that I was very suspicious of, because it kind of hinted towards something that I was afraid of, and when I jumped into this project I actually found that I was right. What am I talking about? Younger artists, in fact if we're talking younger, we might as well start at millennials, going into Gen Z and everything else after that, have been people who for the most part have been cultivated within the context of the capitalist machine. And with that comes this subtle tendency to play into colonial archetypes, understandings of Africa that aren't ours, understanding of the world that aren't ours, things that speak more to the people that oppressed us than what our actual experience is. So when I heard this title, I was trying to figure out, what's the jungle? What's it representative of? Is it still the same cliche of Africa as some kind of primal, primitive place where not much advancement exists? Or is it something else? Is Indigo Stella speaking more to this entangled inner bush of psychological traveling? And it speaks to both. It does speak to an internal ruffling of the feathers and wrestling of the trees, but it also speaks to that in terms that only celebrate the American palette. Indigo Stella is one of these trap artists who falls too deep into the trope of trap, so much so that she pits herself in a place where you don't identify her Africanness. She speaks in tones that are more global than local. She uses references that speak to more of a universe in the pop culture scope than her neighborhood or her close friends or her intimate relationship. She really kind of gives us more or less a caricature of herself and not really who she truly is. And I think what that does is that her music loses a sense of integrity, where as fun as it is, as much as we move from songs that start off by giving us the intimacy and the energy of the person and swim into things that could easily fit into the club scope, as much as these beats be banging and these drums be slanging and these samples be hanging, there's something in the message that doesn't quite put them together in ways that feel concrete, that feel stable. It's shaky, and the shakiness is a soul that hasn't found a place to occupy itself uniquely. A soul that still swims about looking for other aspects of inspiration to inhabit. And she inhabits these aspects of inspiration very well. Neatly fitting into the new era of quote-unquote female rappers or female trappers. More specifically, we're talking about the Megan Thee Stallions, people like Glorilla, an era of young 2000 women who are fly and in charge and are feminist in their approach. And when I say feminist, calm down, Buddhas. I'm simply talking about women with an organic understanding of the fact that gender is simply a made-up archetype that is performed by people and isn't skin deep. So womanhood is something that speaks more to principles than it does to what swims deep inside your blood. Indigo Stella is an artist who kind of carries this signature tone of an affirmed identity, of a kick in the door that says you might as well scrap the female off the rapper, because all I am is giving music. And she's more trapper than rapper, carrying beautiful melodies that move in ways that are both silky and calm, and as I said, very potent and exciting. But by far, somebody who exposes the fact that she still remains in this very Americanized place is Dikuwala and Blackie on the song Antolagali, because for real, we might as well be talking about Indigo Stella's ability to find her authenticity, because Nyani Agatolagali on the joint. The only person who you can feel, whose presence moves booming, is Dikuwala with those Xhosa verses and raps. And again, I'm not saying it takes a switch to your indigenous tongue for you to be recognized as authentic. I'm saying, look around at the world you inhabit, speak to the references that are in your immediate surroundings, and you'll start feeling the love from the people around you, instead of trying to jump over them and reaching the world. Instead of trying to go from what you perceive as a jungle into the stars of the popular culture. Instead of playing into these colonial archetypes of the African jungle, because you feel the only way you'll be free is through Western stardom. And this is how I interpret the title. This is what the music feels like to me. It feels like a young girl navigating the politics of hip-hop with not much understanding, but she has every right to. She has every right to find herself in ways that fumble and fall, but eventually, with the heart that she has, I'm sure that she'll be able eventually to step into a place that's more aware of herself, more aware of the gaps that others will exploit in her not being so authentic. The gaps that mean that if she were to travel to the States, she'd lose herself in the ocean of just sameness, and she'd drown so quickly because she isn't really doing anything immediate to what she is in the context of. So, speaking as a South African to another South African, in a scope where South Africa has so much diversity, I always get sad when an artist feels like they've dived above all of that diversity simply to cash in on something which doesn't immediately echo their experiences. All in all, this is one that will carry you easily if you're going somewhere to enjoy yourself with your friends. It's a club project, it's a having fun project, it's a let's party project, it's a let's forget our emotions and kind of just dive into the possibilities of what may be. And who doesn't love that? And I think for that sentiment, this definitely itches beyond the 5 mark, and I'll give it a cool 6 out of 10 because it's structurally done in a way that presents the package of Indigo Stella with smoothness, with cohesive accuracy. And I think if it weren't for the fact that she kind of recycled tropes that are very, very, very played out, we would be going to unique places with this. But we don't. We only remain in the same place. And sometimes remaining in the same place is important because that's where you can reflect, that's where you can find familiarity. And sometimes, most times actually, we prefer the familiar to the foreign. But what if the familiar is foreign to us, which makes us foreign to our own familiarity? Bars, boy. Catch that. It's VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. I love you. I do this because as Africans, we need to understand how we can empower ourselves through this culture of hip-hop, through this culture of pop culture, through this culture of, I don't know, fucking industrial, modern, human experience. And that's all I'll say, because that's all there is to say. Shout out to Indigo Stella. She definitely has more colors in her palette, and I'd love to see that in the future, because I'm all for young artists who are exciting windows into what's possible. And every time I listen to Indigo Stella's music, ikona la way kanje ushota that thing, and that thing is authenticity. Shout out to all of you who subscribed. Please tell those who haven't to come join the movement. Let's get on this train to exposing and imposing South African hip hop on everybody. What's up?